Let's see if that's working now. Rugged. Oh, you can hear me now? Man, oh man. This is it's just a buggish software. That's about it. That's all I can say. Let's test it there. Just waiting to see if that works. Let me know if the audio's back up. Check, check, check. Do the mic check. Oh, that's really annoying. You know what? I could see it on my studio. My studio was saying it's all working fine, and I didn't look over at my monitor because I checked the sound at the beginning. It was okay, and I didn't see whether my camera came up. Silly little buggy software. I do really like EV Mux, but it has some silly little bugs like that. So just unfortunate the way it goes. But welcome everybody. You probably missed out on everything I said. It's just the way it goes. And of course, hopefully you guys can have a good time. We're going to get into a lot of good details. I have been going through the comments there. We've got Lies Beneath, obviously. I went through all that on the board there, but let's get into it. We've got, let's jump through all those comments because a few people were talking about the audio. Magnus in the house. Hey, Superman, good to see you, Magnus, as well. So, yeah, EV Mux is a lot more flexible with what you can do with the studio compared to StreamYards, which I got a little bit bored of. But it is more buggy since it's more of a newer software team, relatively speaking. What else there? Let's jump into it. We've got K Noel. Hello, all. Good to see you, Cal. I will put a timestamp after the video, as I have been doing, so people can jump straight to the start. What else there? Christian says we are testing the power of mind. You are indeed. We are indeed. Nice. All right. Sounds like the sound is looking good. And we got Magnus in there. 5555. Awesome. Christian as well. Let's make it to the moon, says Christian. Absolutely. Hey, just one thing I'd mention, Bitcoin inscriptions. I don't know if you guys have played around with Bitcoin inscriptions. Inscriptions are kind of like the closest thing to an NFT for Bitcoin. They've just about hit 400,000. Looks like they're pretty much, at least over the last 24 hours, looks like they've added almost 10,000 inscriptions in 24 hours. So that's not all. I don't know if it's always at that same pace. Probably because it's cheaper to do, possibly a bit now. But that's pretty interesting. If you haven't checked it out, it's pretty cool. I've done quite a few inscriptions myself, and you never know when they'll pop up, but it's pretty cool. All right, anyway, a little side thing there. I thought that was kind of cool. Welcome, everybody. Let's get into it, though. Let's get straight into the session, and I've just got to wait for this to update. Now that we've actually got the audio and video going, I actually have to add the screens so that I can actually see it now, since I had to reboot my studio. Let's get into it. Before we do that, let's have a quick drink of water. That is good. All right, let's get into it. See what I mean? The background's not coming up there. It takes a second. I'm not sure what. It's been working pretty well the last couple of days. Just today, it has to decide to have a little hiccup today. S&P 500 slumps on SVB financial shutdown, and it stokes bank contagion fears. Now, remember yesterday we briefly covered this. This does a lot of commercial lending as well to Silicon Valley entrepreneurial companies. We're going to cover that in a bit of a video. But there could be further fallouts, not just from the bank itself. Apparently, it's around about number 20th biggest bank in America. And of course, it is being pretty much shut down by a regulator and so forth. And of course, this is where crypto and fiat world are colliding together. So it's a pretty big deal. So S&P 500 slumps as SVB, a financial shutdown, stokes bank contagion fears. We're going to get into more of that. But before we do that, let's get into the indices. So the Dow Jones Industrials down again. I know you guys will remember on for Wednesday's results, I did risk management, and boy, has that turned out to be the right call, right? The following 2 days, we saw these big decreases, 2%. Now we're down on basically 1.5%. So we've got the Dow Jones down 1% here, 345 points, down to 31,909. So down below 32,000 on the Dow Jones. Remember, this got the top 30 industrials in it, more or less. S&P 500 down 1.45%, 57 points, down to 3,861 on the S&P 500. NASDAQ with all the tech companies in it down 1.76%, almost 200 points, and sitting at 11,138 is that. Now the dollar is also down, interestingly enough, which is a little bit odd when you have risk off. The dollar being down as well. So we're going to talk about that. And we've got 0.65% is the decrease there, down to 104.62 there. And that will probably be reflective of the interest rate movements. We'll talk about that in a second. So commodities, we've got Brent oil is actually up 1.27%, up a dollar to $82.63. West Texas there per barrel is up 1.1%, 84 cents to $76.56. So oil is up after being down a couple of days. We've got gold is continued up. So gold did reasonably well yesterday, pretty much staying stable. It is actually up 2% today at 38. So it's a bit of a risk haven. Is that what's happening here? Gold there, and of course the dollar down a bit with the interest rates lifting the gold also. So up $38 to 1,872. Silver is also up 2%, which has been performing pretty badly. That's up 43 cents to $20.59. So those commodities are up. So let's get into the commentary, though. The S&P 500 slump Friday, so the end of the week, the closing day, amid fears of contagion. That's a terrible word, we get contagion, that swept through banking stocks as regulators closed SVB Financial to protect deposits after the beleaguered bank's efforts to secure funding failed, all right? So the regulators have closed it down, and we're going to talk more about that in a second. SVB Financial was closed by regulators, and its deposits placed under control of regulators to protect depositors. So people have deposits there as well. Now, who do we know who has deposits there? We know that Circle with the stablecoin USDC has up to $9.8 billion worth of stables, not just with SVB, but how much have they got there? That's a big question. And of course, at least they're going to be protected. So this is probably going to be limited in terms of its impact on USD Circle. So that's probably not too bad. The news sparked widespread fears over a spillover into the broader banking sector, with regional banks, which tend to have less diversified funding sources. Remember, particularly some of these have more commercial funding as well than their larger peers in the firing line. So obviously with the rising interest rates, this is starting to have a bit of an impact on these banks, particularly commercial ones. Signature Bank and First Republic Bank were down more than 18%. Smash. Normally banks, you know, you're making money over jam, aren't you? JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo Company, however, were in the green amid expectations that depositors will seek the safety of larger banks with more diversification and, of course, backing. Remember that, yeah, just the way it goes. The turmoil in banks trigger worries about a systematic banking crisis, forced investors to rethink their bets on larger rate hikes at the Fed Reserve March meeting on the 22nd, even as job gains in February topped estimates. So there's kind of a positive story here in the sense that they've pulled back the expectations about interest rates with these bank issues. We'll see whether that plays out, whether that call is the right call. Let's jump into a couple of things around the indicators. First of all, we can see that the Nasdaq is actually down. Last 5 days is down 4.7% over the last 5 days, down 5% over the last month. So pretty similar numbers really the last couple of days. 3 months, it's still up 1.2%. Year to date, it's up 6.42% on the year to date. So it's still doing okay. But on a year-on-year basis, it's down 13.27% is the Nasdaq. So some interesting numbers there. But let's turn to Silvergate and get a bit of a deep dive explanation. Before Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX exchange collapsed, Silvergate held $11.9 billion in assets in September. And that's where it started off with the assets. In November, Silvergate CEO Alan Lane assured investors that Silvergate had limited exposure to FTX. Oh, how times have changed. Accounting for less than 10% of deposits without any loans or other FTX investments. However, the bank issued SEN leveraged loans exclusively collateralized by Bitcoin. As any bank would do, Silvergate used a SEN leverage to lend against customers' deposits in return for interest rate. By the end of 2022, Silvergate's SEN leverage accounted for $1.1 billion of such commitments. However, the more significant risk came from the bank's accumulation of securities and bonds, treasury securities, and mortgage-backed securities. This coincided with the departure after FTX crashed, wherein Silvergate's deposits shrunk from nearly $12 billion to $3.9 billion in December. Woohoo! That's pretty fast. The coup de grace appears to be Silvergate's $4.3 billion loan from the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco to facilitate these withdrawals. The problem was the FHLB earlier than expected loan recall caused Silvergate to sell its securities prematurely. This resulted in a realized loss by SVB, totaling a net loss of $1 billion for Q4 2022. Fast forward to March the 1st, and Silvergate's delayed 10K filing to the SEC. The bank pinpointed the repayment of FHLB as the main culprit because of the sale of additional investment securities beyond what was previously anticipated. So this was the delayed filing here for the market price for Silvergate, and you can see it was up around $13.50, and of course look at it, it's just absolutely tanked down to $2.70 or so. It really has fallen off there. In the following days, this triggered another bank run, compounded all the major Silvergate clients abandoned the censorship. Coinbase, Paxos, Circle, Binance, Gemini, Galaxy Digital. So everyone ran on the bank, and of course there's pictures out there of people going to the SVB branch, and of course they're in the big queues there. So there's also individuals as well lining up. Silvergate finally announced its liquidation this Wednesday, and the SEN's USDC payment rail is going down. So that is a sort of a backstory to what's happening here. Now, furthermore to that, of course, the Silicon Valley shut by California regulator to seal its fate, as it were. The California regulator shut down Silicon Valley Bank on Friday and appointed the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation as receiver, according to the agency statement. Shares of the bank were halted on Friday after they tumbled 66% in pre-market trading. Silicon Valley Bank is the first FDIC insured bank to fail in more than 2 years, the last being Alameda State Bank in October 2020. Silicon Valley Bank had about $209 billion total assets, about $175 billion in total deposits as of 31st December 2022. The main office and all branch of Silicon Valley will reopen on March the 13th, and all insured depositors will have full access to the insured deposits no later than Monday morning, according to the statement. Of course, the startup-focused lender had 17 branches in California and Massachusetts, and I have seen images of one of those branches with a big queue lined up outside of it. And of course, this is the startup focus as well. So obviously having a lot of entrepreneurial businesses, and some people think that this is going to have even a bigger impact on that. So pretty big deal as well. Cool. Let me just jump over to some of that. We've also got the CEO of failed Silver Valley Bank, no longer a director of SF Fed as well. The chief executive officer of failed Silicon Valley Bank is Greg Becker, is no longer on the board of directors of the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. A spokesperson for the regional Fed Bank said on Friday Beck's departure was effective on Friday, and the spokesman said earlier on Friday Silicon Valley Bank was closed by regulators. So some big fallouts here going on at the moment. So pretty big deal there with SVB Financial, Silvergate Bank as well. So pretty big. We're going to have a quick look at a little video here of some of the outputs here for fallouts for the actual entrepreneurial side and the US GDP. So it's really having this big fallout as well.
You know, the experts that I talk to say that we're on a path where this, will be resolved in weeks or months. The opinions are sort of all over the place. It's a live situation. We don't know what's going to happen to the depositors long term. But what I can say is that these thousands of currently small businesses that would become big drivers of GDP in the United States over the next 10 years, they're never going to get a chance to actually be that in the future. And that will be to the detriment of thousands of jobs, if not tens of thousands of jobs in the future. Gary, these depositors will not survive, weeks or months without some sort of plan from the government.
Gary, could this also be part of a repricing of some of the startup ecosystem that we've been talking about for a while, where, yes, people were maybe avoiding having to raise more because they didn't want to get their valuation taken down. They didn't want to come public because the public markets aren't. Could this end up where they actually have to get valued in order to get an inflow of cash, and then various institutions, including public companies that are holding not the seed stage, but some of the somewhat larger startups on their books in their venture portfolios, have to reprice that as well?
I think the financial world does not have the capability to save these companies. Like, we will just wholesale throw out startup innovation in America if we allow these companies to die in the next weeks. And it really is a matter of next week. I have companies that are calling me saying, how am I going to make payroll? All of my legitimate cash that I was using to plan out to be able to even just run the business, was in a bank account that I do not have access to anymore. And so, what the FDIC really does need to do is take into account these people. These are the small guys who, if we damage them, it hurts us all. And there will be a catastrophic. This is a national security issue because this is a lot bigger. This will splash across all of the economy.
So as you can see, some wider fallouts here. Do I think it's going to be catastrophic? No, but it's certainly going to have a big impact, particularly on entrepreneurial companies in Silicon Valley, things like that. I think there's a few, that's kind of where it's kind of play at the moment, definitely causing more shocks in the system. Now, there was moving on past the banks. We're going to get into the job results. As you guys know, the job results are coming out for Friday. They've come out, and they actually, it's kind of to a bit of a mixed result. The US economy created 311,000 jobs last month. Remember, I think the target was, the estimate was forecast was 205,000. So definitely well above expectations with 311. Remember, the previous one came out for January at over 500,000 jobs. So job growth has actually been pretty strong in the US economy there. Though there were some signs of softening in the labor market, including a tick up in the unemployment rate. So as I said to you, we also had the unemployment rate. This is kind of a little positive. It sounds bad, but it's a little positive there. 3.6%. The forecast was 3.4. and a previous unemployment rate for the United States was 3.4. So this is actually a bit higher. This is kind of a little bit of a good news in terms of the Federal Reserve. So it's a bit of a mixed results here. We'll see what they do with their totality. Remember when the Chairman Powell was at the meeting the other day giving his testimony, he was pretty much saying to the government, you're basically going to have to raise the debt ceiling. We're going ahead with these interest rates. And of course, he was almost pleading as well about them with their fiscal policy coming out and sort of, can you pull back that spending? You guys are really spearing into the money there. And of course, we saw the budget come out with the budget there of President Biden of the U.S. government. And it's honestly, I won't say too much about this, but it's ridiculous. And it's going to get shot down already by the House. And we've got the House, that's basically just going to get shut down as well. So Kevin McCarthy's pretty much said, this is not going anywhere, and it's quite a ridiculous read if you actually read it there. So you can go to whitehouse.gov if you want to read the budget that's put up there, and of course massive taxes across the board. And of course, the policies themselves are all terrible against the energy markets. The whole thing's a joke. I mean, if you want to tank the U.S. economy, you keep doing policies like this. That's pretty much it. You can go read it for yourself. It's pretty bad. So that is pretty much it. Let's jump into the rest of it. We've got, obviously, some of the rest of the commentary here. It's harder to say the cracks are forming in the labor market when payrolls are increasing at 311K, but it seems like we are at least at the beginning of the process of seeing the labor market soften up there. So we had slightly slower wage growth there. As you can see, that also came in. So unemployment was slightly higher, and the wage growth there was slightly lower. So it was forecast 0.3%, came in at 0.2%. That's good. So those two, the unemployment and the wage growth, are certainly playing in for less hawkish Fed. But of course, the strong employment growth is for more hawkish Fed. So it's a bit of a mixed bag there. But the commentator here is saying at the beginning of the process of seeing the labor market soften, and that's what the Fed's looking at. Remember, their key measure is the personal consumption expenditure measure, and of course 56% of that is non-property services and dominated by the employment sector there. So that's what they're wanting to see. That was being the one area that's been particularly stubborn, and of course we ended up seeing our decreasing inflation over like 4 months disappear, and that seems to have stopped there. So a pretty big deal. We've got the CPI number coming out next week. That's the other inflation measure that's pretty popular. So that's coming out on Tuesday next week. That's the last sort of big one there. We have a few other things around sales demand and stuff like that, because obviously consumption is a big deal with the inflation. Obviously, 70% of US GDPs in the consumption level there. So that's coming up there. So that was kind of a mixed news. We'll see what the Fed makes of all that. And of course, investors reined in the bets on a 50 basis point hikes. So the market's already decided. We don't know what the Fed's going to do with that data, but the market has decided that that mixed data has actually pulled things back a little bit there. And of course, with the bank issues as well, investors rated in the bets on a 50 basis point rate hike in March to 50 basis points from about 50% from 80% yesterday. Remember, yesterday we looked at it, it was at 80%. It was pretty alarming, because now we're instead of looking at 75 basis points like we've been talking about for the last 2 months, we're now looking at 100 to 125 basis points. And of course, that is going to have, it leaves the absolute terminal rate getting up pretty high, up to around the 6% mark. And that's pretty scary, 5.75 to 6%. That's a pretty scary level, because the retail, we already see that the residential rates in particular are already going up to 6.5 to 6.8% in the US. And you can imagine adding another 100 basis points to that at least. You're talking about getting up to high sevens, maybe even 8%. And of course, more marginal houses fall into that group. The higher you go up the terminal rate, the more that just keep falling into it, because remember, interest rates are a very blunt instrument. It's going to be interesting to see whether these bank issues, whether this mixed results come in and soften some of that hawkish talk as well. And of course, the Fed chairman was reaching out. Can you give me a bit of help here? Can you pull back maybe your fiscal spending stuff? And of course, what they come out with, another budget that's just disaster for the US. Higher taxes, and of course, that means taking more money out of your pocket and dampening down the incentives in the economy. It's just disaster, honestly. And then, of course, in their policies, that tightening up the supply side with a lot of jargon. They put a lot of jargon there to trick you, but it really is a disaster there. So, fortunately, Kevin McCarthy's going to shoot that down, and hopefully they'll get some more reasonable regional budget there. In any case, so that was some of the highlights there. The Treasury yields, which had jumped on the highest level in more than a decade earlier this week, fell sharply, helping the broader market pass some losses. So Treasury yields pulled back there, very bullish sign. So that's a pretty big day in the office, and so a bit of a mixed results for the markets. But if we can definitely get a bit of a pullback by the Fed, that's on the 22nd of March. It's going to be very, very good for the rest of us. So just the way it goes. Right, so we've got BTC at the moment. We're going to get into crypto. Before we do that, though, let's get into the chat and see who's jumped in there. We're going to get into crypto. We've got lots to talk about, so it should be a lot of fun. Let's see who's jumped in here. We've got 46 people in the house. Good to see everybody, by the way. If you like to get a full broad range of everything that's going on, a Hex Token channel, that's how we roll here. That's how we roll. If you want the 100x gem every I've seen some channels, all they do is 100x gems, and it's just like they're not all going. It's like maybe 1% we're going to be 100x gems, but they keep people keep liking it. They keep going to it. But I just can't do that. It's just lacks integrity to do that sort of stuff. Katie in the house there. Hey, good looking Hexkins, says Katie. Nice one. Suitman is a beast, 100% on target. Let's go, says Katie. I appreciate that. Thanks very much. We've got Michael R in the house as well. Woohoo! Good to see you, Michael. And Tortoise Johnny says it well. CFI equals wrecked. It does indeed. Honestly, these issues that are going on just amplify the Pulsechain narrative. And of course, Pulsechain is going to accelerate the DeFi narrative, and DeFi is going to take over more market share. And of course, I think as a community, as influencers in the space, we have a big opportunity to really spread the word and how people, your keys, your coins, immutable code, awesome tokenomics, great community, really is the future. It really is a really cool opportunity there. Sandy Beach in the house there. Hello, Hex Token and everybody. Good to see you, Sandy Beach. We got property review. Very nice. Hey, very nice. Property review. Good to see you in the chat there too. What else? We've got Blobfish King in the house there. Good to see Blobfish King. Not sure if the actual emojis show up. No, just show up as words, unfortunately, in the studio. We got Humberto Gonzalez. Yo. Cheers from sunny Miami, everybody. Hey, good to see you, Humberto. Let's jump through. And there's another GFC coming. Not yet, Blobfish King. I wouldn't price in another GFC, but certainly some hemorrhaging going on there. So yeah, I'm not quite in the camp of another GFC there, but definitely a big issue. Randy Halasi is in the house. Hey Randy, good to see you. The market is going to tank. Well, yeah, I don't think it's certainly going to have some pullbacks. It's definitely, as I went back on Wednesday, talked about risk management. Definitely thinking of a 10 to 20% shading off the value of crypto over the next couple of months. So that's definitely on the cards, I think. But crypto is not, it has its own narrative, has its own drivers, I should say. So it should have some insulation to some degree. And in any case, if it does get hit, and we do get down towards 11K and pray, for example, that we're likely to rebound faster out of the other side. So that's the other side there. I do think people would have to take their risk management prudently over the months of March to June. I said that on Wednesday on the risk management video. And of course, since then, what happened? The markets started shaving off some of that percentage, 5% in the last 5 days, just off the Nasdaq alone. So it definitely is of worthy. And we're getting some of that news come out, which around these banks, which is all these sort of shocks. And I wouldn't say it's a black swan event because we kind of knew it was there. It's more like a gray swan event. Yeah, this where we go. We'll just take it one day at a time. The bank story you raised is a serious situation for sure. Says Property Review. A national security issue, really? Yeah, I thought the language he was using was a little bit over the top. It's certainly going to have a big impact on Silicon Valley and the entrepreneurial companies that come out of there. A lot of the brightest minds go into some of those companies as well. They get a lot of capital, seed capital. So it definitely will play some issue there. But I'm sure that some of them will survive, recapitalize, things like that. But definitely, as people depositors go to get their deposits, obviously there's nothing to lend out to the commercial side. So they recall the loans. That's where some of the issue is happening. I take it from what they're talking about, and therefore the companies that are got their funding from there, they under pressure, and they would probably have to recapitalize there. And of course, interest rates are pretty high, so there's definitely an issue there. Randy Alaski says anything over 225,000 jobs was negative for the markets because it means inflation is running hot. That's true. So we've got a lot of wage buying them. We've still got a strong income effect, and that's actually good for crypto. Having a good income effect is good for crypto. So really, really cool. What else we got jumping around here? Does this mean Hex will dip to 3 cents? I'm just asking. Not at this stage. We've still got Pulsechain out there. Not really quite call that yet. But definitely 4 cents is on the cards potentially. But we're going to look at the Hex price. Hex price performing pretty well at the moment, bouncing back. We'll see whether that's the case when I go to look at it, because I haven't looked at it since then at the moment. Let me have a quick look, a little sneak peek. It's really pumping the old Hex price there. We're going to talk about that too. We've got Pulsechain in front of us, the Testnet V3. That's a bullish thing. We'll see. I think that's enough to hold us up, but of course, markets will do markets things. We'll see how we get it. Depends on how much volatility we get. I'm expecting a lot of volatility between March and June. And some shaving of value. And I think there's a good narrative for Pulsechain to run at the beginning. But between Pulsechain Testnet V3, I think there's some good excitement about that. But in the middle part, the quiet part in between there, let's say that a Pulsechain Testnet launches in June, for example, that quiet space between March and June, that's when you could see some move down on the price. So that scenario is definitely a plausible one there. Brendan's in house, their jet ski ride today. Woohoo! Hey, Brendan, you're just having too much fun. You're having too much fun there. Brendan's like completely, he's like, oh, stop that. Stop what's happening in the markets. I'm going to go jet skiing. Randy, the market is tanking just like our casino Thursday night. It's that moon's fault, said Humberto. That's funny. We've got cookies in crypto as well. Woohoo! Good to see a cookies in crypto. PSI in house as well. I think this will allow the Fed to only raise 25 basis points instead of 50. Yeah, that's what the market is pricing in. And it switched between the day. We'll keep looking at that. The inflation number on Tuesday, the CPI, is the last, really, I think, the kingpin one to watch out there. They will take the totality of the data. That's what the chairman said as well. They are under pressure as well. The higher the terminal rate goes, the more interest costs it costs, not only to residential, commercial, but it costs the government, right? It costs the government. But we'll see whether the chair actually chair and all the rest of the presidents, I think there's about 18 of them, whether they actually go that high with the terminal rate, because I don't think it's going to increase the chance of not just a recession, but one that could be quite bad. So we'll see how we go. I'll post my video on snow, video of my snow today in Discord. Hey, Sandy Beach, that'd be cool. Hope you got your boots on and your warm jacket. What else there? Let's jump through that. All right, so casino night was a bust this week, says Randy. Yeah, I think Randy, I think, is holding a casino thing on his live stream, so definitely check that out. Let's go. All right, let's get into it, folks. We're going to get into crypto, and let's get into this. I've got to remember my live stream feed here. It's a bit more complicated today. So we've got BTC at the moment at 20,047. It is fighting to hold 20,000 here after pulling back a significant amount, down 1.84%. ETH is at 1426, down 2.7% there. ETH was actually holding up quite well. ETH has some of the good narrative ahead of us. ETH has some of the bullish stuff for crypto. Some of these big things are going to help insulate crypto to some degree. We'll talk about that in a second. BNB is at 283. That's holding up pretty well. Also, we've got Solana is actually up 1.6% to $17.80. So there's a bit of green shoots here. BTC is really trying to hold on at 20K. I'm not sure what's happened to the Bitcoin from Silk Road. I'm not sure what's happened with that. And I also, as I understand it, that the Mt. Gox payouts, I think, have been deferred again, I think, in terms to April, I believe. So I think that's also the case. I think there's been some confirmation of that with a letter to those that are able to claim. Let me know in the chat there if you are actually a Mt. Gox claimer and whether that you got that letter deferring it to April there. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Always takes a little bit longer. Now, some of the other cool stories here. We've got ADA up as well. ADA is up almost 1% there at 31.5 cents. But the key stuff is the stable coins, right? USDC is just gone below peg a bit. And of course, that may be as mounting pressure from the SVB. Although I think that the exposure from Circle, because it may not be as high as that 9.8 billion. And of course, that was from January's update, I believe, January's disclosure. So that shouldn't be as bad. We'll see. They've been pretty silent, and so we'll wait to hear from that. In any case, remember these centralized fiat-backed stables that have any of these issues where they've been on the wrong platforms that go under, And of course, they do have some protection of the insurance. They may all get that all back, so it should be okay. Not expecting too much fallout from that. BUSD there is up at $1.12. Can you believe it? That's just insano and the braino. Obviously after Paxos and the SEC. And that is up 2% at $1.12. Obviously risk off, right? Risk off and the amount of liquidity there as well must be playing a role. BSD there up as well. Remember that Binance is pivoting away from these stables, and of course I think that's a smart move on Binance's part, and actually supports the stable coins that are going to be coming on Pulsechain, because we're going to be using Liquidity, which I think is performing extremely well, and Fiat, of course, without the custodial. So I think we're going to have really good stable coins on Pulsechain. It's just going to help the whole narrative of Pulsechain. Just keeps getting better all the time. All right, so USD Tether there is at $1, so it's pretty much pegged. And also DAI is up 1% at $1.08. Look at that. So let me get that properly there. DAI is up at 1% at $1.08 on DAI. And of course, do you know the Sacrifice wallet's holding about 51% of the 600 million? So over $300 million in DAI. It's just made like 8% return. It's made 8% return on it. Is that insane? Or the membrane? Is that insane? It's crazy, crazy. So some amazing stuff happening there. All right, so that is pretty stuff there. So some pretty cool. I see QNT there is doing well with the dark green. That's up 5% at $118. I don't have any of that, but that is there as well. Let's jump over to the amount that was wiped off. Well, obviously, with Bitcoin pulling down, we got up to 25K, and of course, it's all the way down. We were sitting at around about 23,000, and of course, it's all come down. 70 billion wiped off the crypto markets in 24 hours as Bitcoin dropped below 20,000. So we're going to get into that. It's a big amount of money. And of course, here is the Bitcoin chart on Coinbase. We see that we're currently at $20,256 on the Coinbase measure. So that's kind of not too bad. I see on the RSI on the daily, we're just entered the oversold territory. So we might get some reprieve there for the old Bitcoin. And of course, we're coming down onto the long-term, what had been long-term bear market resistance. Has now may end up being support here, and that's down. We've just not quite got there, just shy of that. That's around about 19,300 on this chart. But definitely we've pierced. We had a golden cross, and that's just been wrecked quite a bit. But we've still got this long-term support, resistance, which now could potentially become support. And we've got the RSI on the oversold territory. So we may get some reprieve here. We definitely bounced back from $19,568. And we're currently at 20,235, really trying to hold on to that. But look at that big red day we had 2 days ago. Yesterday was pretty bad too. Yeah, so we've managed to reprieve there. So that's kind of where Bitcoin is at the moment. Let me jump over to some of the other news. So we're going to jump over to crypto news at the moment. Crypto news, we've had quite a few things happen. And of course, so on the downside has been the banks. SVB in particular, but on the upside we have Ethereum. Ethereum's coming up obviously with the Shanghai fork, the ETH withdrawals. This is actually bullish for crypto, and of course we don't have earnings season generally speaking in crypto. We don't typically have valuations inversely related to interest rates. We don't have these sort of things happening. But if money evaporates and some of these centralized stuff, that certainly hurts the market. Obviously, if C5 falls over, that hurts the market. In this case, Ethereum's having a technology upgrade that's going to open up ETH withdrawals. And so we've had the first 2 testnets went really well. And we've got obviously Guruli and then the mainnet for the Shanghai upgrade and ETH withdrawals. Remember, ETH deposits went in December 2020. And it's been a long time. And so some people, there is a school of thought that people say, people be able to withdraw the ETH from their stakes, and there's about 14% of ETH is staked in there, something like 16 million ETH or so out of the 120 a million Ethereum. And of course, they think, we're getting people sell down, dump down. But then there's another school of thought that thinks, actually the ETH withdrawals are going to be super bullish. We see other layer 1 chains, other chains, where we've got 40% staking and validating as opposed to 14% like Ethereum, and actually that with ETH withdrawals, it will actually open up the chance to have more people. Not only will they not unstake, there will be some selling, of course, there's always some, but we might have a net inflow because people go, ETH withdrawals are happening now, and maybe you get even bigger institutions going, well, this is risk off now. I can actually get my funds out as an institution, and so I start buying more ETH and putting more ETH in there, and as a validator, and earn really sweet returns from a successful high-value chain. So that's probably, I think I'm in the later camp. I think that that's more likely to happen, and we could see a massive increase in staking. Of course, that takes more ETH off the market, and of course, that helps the price go up as well, all things equal. So pretty big deal there. We've got Ethereum. Here's a little update here. Ethereum, a Shanghai upgrade could benefit liquid staking providers. We're thinking of providers like Lido in this, and cement Ethereum's layer 1 dominance. And I think this is probably going to be the scenario that pays out. This Ethereum Shanghai upgrade is set to unlock a trove of staked ETH, and of course possibly benefit other staking protocols that offer lucrative yields. So some of the update there. Ethereum's upcoming Shanghai upgrade will allow users to withdraw staked ETH, increase the network's liquidity and competitiveness, while also boosting its staker ratio closer to its competitors. The Shanghai upgrade is a hard fork of Ethereum, tentatively scheduled to occur in March, although I think that probably may slip into April. It implements 5 Ethereum improvement proposals, the headliner being EIP 4895, the Shanghai one, which will allow users to withdraw their locked-up tokens representing staked Ether from the beacon chain. The ability to withdraw staked Ether could increase market liquidity and make it easier for users to access their funds. Ethereum's liquid staking platforms, which are largely emerged to alleviate the blockchain's prohibitive lockup and staking requirements, could also benefit from the upgrade. Since the Ethereum network moved to proof of stake in September 2022, it increased the percentage of staked ETH has become important to help secure the protocol. But many have hesitated to stake the ETH due to the unavailability of withdrawals. Consequently, only around 50% of ETH is currently staked, while all other major networks are staking around 40%. So it's a pretty big deal there. You can see the staking ratio relatively here. We've got ETH at around 15%, Cardano at 71%, Solana at 71%, BNB Chain at 98%, Polygon at 38%, Polkadot at 48%, and Avalanche at 51% there, respectively. According to DeFi Investor, many investors will opt for a liquid staking option following Shanghai upgrade, as they can utilize liquid staking derivatives on other decentralized finance networks without forfeiting their staking yield. So pretty positive from that point of view. I would tend to agree with that quite strongly, that was more likely to happen as well. DeFi wants to say that once its staked ETH becomes available for withdrawal, the revenue of liquid staking providers will likely significantly increase, which may positively impact their token prices as well. So you might want to try and pick some of those. Furthermore, the increased competition between these platforms will likely benefit the users through lower fees and additional perks in exchange for their loyalty. Lido is the largest liquid staked Ethereum provider and is a market leader in its segment. Other notable liquid stake providers include Rocket Pool, Anchor, Coinbase, and Frax Finance, all of which are anticipated to enjoy increased usage post-Shanghai. Now, obviously, this is going to flow on to Pulsechain. We'll have providers on Pulsechain doing this as well. Like I say, we'll probably have solo staking. People can set up their own nodes and become their own validators, have an execution client, a consensus client running, and just have tick along with that and validate with their 32 million Pulse directly. That's currently around about $3,100 or so, based on sacrifice prices. And I think that's probably we'll get a lot of that happening, but we're probably going to get a lot of pooled staking, centralized staking, and staking as service in different forms as well. So I think that's probably going to be a pretty exciting innovation space for Pulsechain that we're yet to see a lot of that stuff come up. We know that obviously Alex McFurter is working on things like that with this little data center that is building out, not just for his own use case, but also for validating potentially. So we're looking forward to that sort of stuff. We know that Staker app also is already running up those nodes on Ethereum. I'd like to have it on Pulsechain too, so that's going to be pretty cool. I think there'll be quite a few providers out there, particularly people that we know in the community. So that's pretty cool. So I think it's going to be pretty fun to see all this play out, and you can see that it's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty neat in terms of where it might head with that bullish scenario. The other thing we also saw is that with the SEC pressure on centralized exchanges and staking, Coinbase came out with an update about staking with Coinbase. Starting March 29, 2023, our terms and conditions for staking have changed. Here's what you need to know. Your staked assets will continue earning rewards. If you want to continue staking, no action is required. Your staking rewards may actually increase. And of course, here's the big blocker here. You earn rewards for the protocol, not Coinbase. Coinbase acts only as a service provider connecting you, the validators, and the protocol. We pass along any rewards earned from staking minus a Coinbase fee. Got to get paid, right? Got to get paid. In rare cases, your staked assets may be lost due to network penalties or other errors. So that was a big update there from Coinbase. Obviously, a key onboarding channel from the United States crypto investors through to crypto is Coinbase, right? So it's a big deal. And with the SEC pressure, obviously Coinbase being particularly tasked so far as well, and by US regulators and UK regulators. So certainly a bit of a change in terminology from centralized exchanges. And that brings us on to, of course, that is the crypto news. That brings us on to Hex. Hex is pumping. It's a Hex token channel pump. Yeah, boy. Hex token channel pump. Yeah, that's how we roll, man. That's how we roll. All right. More comments before we get into the Hex stats, which is pumping. Let's get into some of the comments as well. Bam, 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 bam. All right, let me get rid of all that, and I'll start with an hour chart actually. Let's go here. We're up to who's jumped in here? We've got Pudding Guru in house there. G'day from Noosa. Good to see you, Pudding Guru. Randy Alaska saying Mount Gox October 31st now, says Randy. Cool, okay. And Katie says RH is an alpha crypto mega brain, says Katie. Well, it's certainly going to be fun, man. Certainly going to be fun 2023 for the old Mount Gox. What else we got going? We got Tom Buss in the house as well. How come your chart showed a BUSD at 110, but on 1 inch or pancake swap it seems to only swap for 1 USD? Hey, it may just be the source of information there, Tom Boss. So it may be different on other platforms. So sometimes there can be issues with the API pull. So that's possibly the reason. Brendan says, I think we will get relief with RSI, but further down aside still, says Brendan. That's sometimes why I pull up nomics.com in case there is issues with the data pull. So that may be an error there, possibly. Mark Edison says, thanks for your work, Hex Token. Yeah, you're welcome. And Superman Hex Pump. Yeah, apparently it looks like it. We're getting a Hex Token channel pump for sure. All right, let's get into it. We've got the price here at the moment at 5.719. Hey, you guys know it's deserved. It's well deserved. Now look at that. Nice little recovery there as well from Hex. This is on the hourly chart of Hex. You guys know I like the hourly to start with. Sometimes I do 15 minutes, but I'm just moving to the hourly here. We can see where we were 24 hours ago. That's the day. We're 18 minutes into the new day. So it's very cool. Nice little jump back here, and probably going to be well deserved. Once we talk about the Pulsechain updates, I think you guys will probably be agreeing that I think that's probably a good reason why it should be recovering too. Let me see here. 24 hours ago, we were sitting at 5.5 cents. 24 hours ago, 5.5 cents, and we're currently at 5.719. So nice. We'll take that. Now, that said, of course, we did move down at 5.5 where we closed 24 hours. We actually got down to around about 5.227. Can you believe it? Now, we talked about yesterday, we've been hitting the marks on the charts, thanks to Brendan as well out there. We've been hitting the marks basically every day, give or take 1/10 of a cent. And yeah, we talked about the fact that we had support at 5 to 5.1 cents, and it bounced off the top of that at 5.2, which is pretty nice as well. So it's kind of cool. Did say there would be a battle on the 5 cent mark, and actually it's actually performing even better on the rebound than expected so far, but 5.71. But when you get to the Pulsechain updates, I think you might agree there's probably a good reason for it to happen. So that's the hourly. Let's go to the Hex Whalebot and see what's been going on with the larger accounts as well. We're probably going to go, the trend is probably going to be buying to selling to buying. So let's get into that. So 23 hours ago, we had 5 million Hex sold for 276,000. We did cover that yesterday. Then we had 12.2 million. This has been smurfed for 728 days. Like to see that. The circulating supply is coming down from the public. So I forget about the origin account, sacrifice accounts. Only concerned with what's in the public's hands. And we've been seeing lots of smurfing there with the old T-shares grabbing. That's really cool to see. 12.2 million of delayed gratification. Now, with the Hex contract, of course, it's a win-win. right? It's a win-win there. So wins for the circulating supply, inflation, win for the person taking the position to defer the gratification. Now, 16 hours ago, 3.1 million sold, 167. And so we're going to have a look at that 16 hours ago on the hourly chart. So that takes us into these charts here. So these hourlies here, this is where this impact's taking the selling of this larger holder. Then 12 hours ago, we had 5.2 million bought for 275,000. So that was 12 hours ago. Let's give a quick look at that. And that's 12 hours ago. So that's in here. So that's these green bars in here. That's kind of cool to see. And then we had 7 hours ago, 2.8 million, so $157,000 bought in 7 hours ago. So that's kind of cool. Let's have a look where that is on the chart, approximately. So it's important here, this sort of area here. I guess it's supposed to be this chart here. That's where it's bought, that green candle, probably that one there. And what else we got going on there? 3.8 million Hex bought 6 hours ago for 211. So we had all that selling off, and now we got all this buying coming. It's pretty nice. 211k there for 6 hours ago. We had 4.2 million Hex sold for 226,000 4 hours ago. Do we see that in the chart there? I guess it's probably in this chart here. This one, this green chart is with the wick down. It's probably in there. What else? Then we had 38 minutes ago, we had 2.8 million Hex bought for 160k. So it was 38 minutes ago. So it's in these candles here. And this one here, it's in that big green candle. So that's pretty nice. What else we got going on there? That is the last update. So some nice buying. I've got a Hex token channel pump, and that's kind of cool. All right, so looking good there on the Hex chart. Let's go to the 4 hourly. This is more of a trader's view, right? And so that's our 4 hourly chart there. So we had a couple hours down here, and yeah, so we had a pretty miserable start to our day down here with the low at 5.22, and we've had a nice the last 8 hours, or last, so to speak, has been nice and bullish, so nice. And let's jump into the RSI. Have a look at the RSI on the 4 hourly. Yeah, we bumped in. We were just at touching that oversold period on the 4 hourly. Started to move back up to 43 at the moment. That's kind of cool. Let's go to the daily on the Hex chart, and let's have a look at that. Get rid of the overlay. This is the daily cut here. So yesterday we had that wick down. We got a really nice bullish doji here. That's really, really bullish. Looking good. And we bounced off that, so nice so far, 5.71. Now let's get into the overview as well. Actually, before we do that, let's go to the RSI and pull that up. RSI, we didn't even get close to oversold, so hopefully we'll be able to hold this and push higher. We're currently at 47 at the moment. So we see before, we were actually on the uptrend though. We had pretty strong numbers here around 50, and so at the moment though, we've got a little bit of downtrend struggling here. But we are holding this this important level around just above 5 to 5.1 cents as well. So you can see that's our previous one of our previous highs that we smashed. We've got support there, and of course we've got support here on the 50 EMA as well. So we've got those horizontal and averaging support there. Hopefully we'll hold that, and we're moving up from that at the moment. It's kind of cool. Moving up to the 20 EMA, that would be back up to 6.1 cents. 6.1 cents on that. That'd be pretty nice to get back over that. That'd be quite a stellar day. But hey, this is crypto. You can do it. All right, so that is pretty much it. Let's go to the overview. Last 24 hours, we had 470 buys in the trades. That's 64% on the trade volume. And the buy and sell sells just slightly ahead there, 2.6 million over 2.5 million, and hopefully the API is correct on this. 7.1 million in liquidity is the price there. We're up 1.73% on 24 hour. Now, before I started the live stream, we were below on the 24 hour. We were about 0.5% down, so we're actually 1.73% by the time I got to the Hex price. Not too bad. Last 6 hours, 5.7% increase. Last hour, 2.84% increase. Very nice. So we're doing well there, doing well. So that's the Hex chart. Let's jump over to Hedron. Hedron at 1876. And Randy has got likes at Hedron. So this had been doing pretty well. Has pulled back, but still holding up pretty well. With the second round of burnings have been pretty good. On the 24 hour, we've got 56% buys with 30 trades, and the sell volume, however, is 74%. Obviously, just struggling a little bit there at the moment with the 95,000 sell versus 33k buy on this trading pair, which is the Hedron USDC. Obviously, there's a Hedron Hex one as well, which is, I think, a bigger pool. But that is it. Let's have a look at the RSI. RSI is sitting at 44, and the buyers are still in control, but the confirmed trend for the buyers is gone. The orange line has gone below 25. It's at 13. But the buyers are still in control, just not with a confirmed trend on the old Hedron. Let's jump to the HSI auctions. This is good news as well in some ways. We've got 3,699 Hex HSI in the liquidation queue that have not yet been pulled into the auction house. And so it's good news in the sense that these are actually starting to come out. The total numbers falling. I was a little bit worried that too many of these would get stuck in there, and maybe they will be stuck. Some will be stuck in there, but definitely we've come down. We were well over 4,000. Remember 4,200 or 100 or something. We've come down quite a bit, a couple hundred from there. That's pretty good. In terms of the auction house, we've got 19 in the auction house at the moment that you can bid on. We've just have a look through some of these. We've got 1 T-share, heaps of 1 T-shares here, 3 T-shares, 10 T-shares, 10 T-shares. So a couple bigger ones coming up in about 14 hours or so, 21 hours respectively for those. And people have been getting some really amazing deals with these Hex HSI auctions. So if you're speculating, or if you are selling back, or if you want to get a 555 stake in your portfolio, man, some of these deals have been pretty juicy for that, particularly for staking ladder. Because imagine having these stakes come out in the future. Some of these might, I don't know how old they are, they might be coming out in 14 years time or so. And imagine that, having some of these juicy discount T-shares and getting the super yield that we're expecting out further that time, along with Maxi and Hex God. Well, that'd be pretty awesome. So certainly some food for thought there. In terms of the What's the NFTs, we have 2 What's the NFTs burned so far. So it's 2 What's the NFTs burned in the last 24 hours. I know Wookie will be happy about that. 1,642 endpoints, and we've now got 21,508 What's the NFTs burned. And so it's very slow burn. People are not giving these things up very easily. So that is pretty much it. And I just want to give another shout out to Dev Huey. He does have his premium service with an annual subscription there, $100 US, which is pretty reasonable. So if you are part of this ecosystem, it is something that, an information source that you value. I think there's 1 or 2 others out there as well, but definitely this is one to consider if that suits you. Check it out on Dev Huey. So it's Dev_Huey. On Twitter, Dev_Huey, if you want to check that out. All right, that is pretty much it. We're going to get into Pulsechain updates because it's pretty exciting, and we're sitting here having a lot of fun here with the Hex chart as well. Look at that's a 15-minute chart, folks. 15-minute chart. Yeah, let's take it. Hex Token channel pump for sure. All right. So let's get into some comments before we get to Pulsechain updates. This is my favorite section, to be honest, because I love talking about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, let's see where we're at. We've got a couple more people in the house there. Mark Anderson, thanks for your work, Hex Token. You're welcome. And definitely got a KD's comment. Tomba says, thanks for the answer. Love the Hex stream pumps too, says Tombas. Me as well. Me as well. So SNL skip, me as well. Me too or something. Peace, I'm catching up, says QQ. Good to see you in the house. Instead of Mets, it is Hex. Let's go Hex, says Christian. Absolutely. Wookie says Wookie is going to have to rewind. Yeah, well, you're going to enjoy the What's the burns. They keep burning, which is nice. Let's jump through some of that. We're going to jump through those comments. Pulse Beta in the house. Hey, good to see Pulse Beta. Good morning, super duper. Hey, good to see you, Pulse Beta. Welcome to the chat there. Let's get into it. Pulsechain updates. And I think it's getting exciting, and the market maybe the market's pricing that in. So it's kind of cool. We will get to the details. Let's go. So here we are, Richard Hart. Obviously, the last update we got from Richard Hart around Pulsechain. I will check to see if he's got anything out now. He's posting so many times tweets as Richard Hart. You got to refresh the Twitter all the time. At least the Pulsechain.com V3 testnet is coming along wonderfully. I love the beautiful words of wonderfully there. I'm excited, said Richard Hart. I like that. 20 hours. We're excited too. And it's always exciting when you got the founder getting excited and also saying that it's coming along wonderfully. That's very, very cool. Now, this has had 125,000 views on it so far, which is pretty awesome. And people are pretty happy with that. So that was some big deal. Now, I'm just going to get into Richard Hart. I'm just going to refresh back here to see if he's got anything else. He's obviously talking about banking issues there and other things going on as well. BlockFi, so he's posting lots of stuff around that. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, he's talking about a lot of things in that space there, but of course with Pulsechain, we've had that last update. As you can see, that is the last update there as well. So very excited. I think it's getting very close indeed, and let's find out how close. We're going to get into GitLab, and of course this gives us a bit of a window in terms of what they're doing, in terms of logging in for work at least. We don't know what tasks they're doing, but definitely tells us when they're logging in. Now we've got 3 Commerce Capital here. Logging in, and it's the March the 10th. So I'm going to do a little refresh here actually. 3 Commerce Capital, March the 10th is the Pulsechain GitLab. March 10th logged in, so that's pretty cool. Brett Paulson logged in 11th of March. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Rock on. So 10th and 11th, that's the most recent update. Yesterday I did update 9th of March, and of course they're logging in Brett there 11th of March, and the latest one there, Gamma as well, March the 10th, and Gamma also doing getting Pulsechain ecosystem projects as well. There's a tweet out there. I was supposed to pull that up today, I forgot, but that is out there too. Kyle Barr as well. Sorry, Kyle, that was the 6th there, so let me jump through. Richard Hart, though, is logged in on March the 10th as well, so that's pretty much the last 24 hours, so bullish on that. Getting very excited. As you can see, this logging in again and again, especially not just by the team who are doing the work, but Richard Hart going in, obviously checking in on things and doing other stuff. That's very excited as well. So him logging in every day must be getting closer, right? Must be getting closer. We've got SJB logging in on the 11th as well. So this is hot off the press stuff. This is happening real time. So very nice. As we say, very nice. So that's Pulsechain. They are working. So how many people are in there? 10th, 11th. 1, 2, 3, 4, including Richard. We've got 5 of them logging in there. So that's pretty cool. Let's go to Pulsex as well. Pulsex logging in here. We've got 3 Commerce Capital, 10th of March. Let me refresh this actually because this hasn't been refreshed. I've got to refresh it. We got 3 Commerce there, March the 10th. We've got Agris there, March the 10th as well. We've got Brett Paulson, Bretep, March the 11th there. Very cool. We've got Hines in there as well, March the 10th. We've got Lucas in there, March the 10th. And of course, the founder, Richard Hart, March the 10th. That's pretty exciting. So we've got 3, 4, 5, 6 of them logging in for PulseX. Like it. It's got to be, I have a feeling it's getting close, and particularly after Richard's last update, the previous one around Aragon, the execution client. They were up to December, and of course that improved from October, and we're very close. So that I imagine all that stuff, assuming there's no other issues, which the last update he gave us was what the nodes are looking pretty good. Then we should be getting excited, and I have pretty high confidence that maybe we will have the testnet by Sunday. Certainly seems like the market is having a bit of a recovery here, and with the old Hex price. Now remember, Hex is pretty awesome. Hex fundamentals are doing really well, but then you also going to get a copy of Hex on the Pulsechain, and then of course you're also going to get there is no Pulsechain coin at the moment from mainnet. Hex is the proxy for that, and so Hex has got that narrative sitting on top of it as well. So it's pretty exciting. So that's pretty cool. So that is some of the updates for Pulsechain. Now we've got a couple of excitements here. Not only are we getting excited, but the big influencers are getting excited as well. And some of these have exposure to Pulsechain as well. So let's get into the first one. We're going to get into Crypto Banter. And of course, I was supposed to paste this yesterday or the day before. I'm playing it now, so it's a little bit behind. But this is Crypto Banter. Very exciting. So let's hear from Crypto Banter and a potential interview with Richard Hart. Everyone's excited about Pulsechain. These guys see the CeFi stuff. They know what's happening in that space. They see that Pulsechain is becoming even more amplified in terms of its value proposition. And Richard Hart is gaining more and more influence in the space. So I think it's going to be fun to see. Let's hear from Crypto Banter.
I mean, speaking of Hex, we should probably talk about Pulsechain for a few seconds. So we texted Richard because we wanted Richard to come on the show, and he said, yeah, I will come on. For some reason, he couldn't come on today. But he did say that the Pulsechain launch was actually imminent. So we did do a little bit of digging. And what it looks like is that the testnet V3 is 100% confirmed, and the launch is imminent. Richard said he hopes that if everything works, then the launch of Pulsechain will actually be much sooner than expected. Nearly 224 million Ethereum addresses to be copied onto Pulsechain network had launched. 623 plus validators. So looks like there is progress with Pulsechain. And I mean, the testnet is happening quite well. We also see that Richard Hart is tweeting, and he's saying in his tweet, says, I hope I'm able to help some people with some of my 300K followers. I retired 20 years ago. I'm here for you. Please try and give myself my free self-help books. You can download them. And he says, hold on, he says, or enjoy the world's largest free airdrop Pulsechain coming soon. So he is hinting that we are very close. And when we, I mean, speaking of Hex, we should probably talk about Pulsechain for a few seconds.
Let's go to the Q&A right now. Perfect timing next month to launch Pulse. Yeah, I mean, listen, Pulsechain, I hope they launch soon, because right now this is, as you say, is like the bottom of the bear market. Not really, because it was in November, but it's close. It's close. Do you think that Pulsechain and PulseX will be true DeFi together with Hex and restore faith overall? Yeah, possibly. I mean, without admin keys, it is definitely in a better position than many other DeFi. And yeah, I mean, Hex is without admin key, it just runs, it just works. I guess the problem is that it's very simple system. As soon as you want something more, like DeFi on ETH is very complex, you know, it's derivatives, perpetuals, it's all kinds of things. So with time, I hope that we can do even those more complex use cases in a fully decentralized non-admin key way. Hex has many derivatives like Hedron. Oh, that's good. I mean, listen, I'm not too deep into that, but if you say that Hedron and Ikusa are derivatives, that's fantastic. So basically, I tweeted that I would be interested in interviewing wallets and ask who is a good wallet, like which are good wallets. So if they are EVM, let's do some interview. They wanted to add Pulsechain, but Richard Hart is making his own wallet. Yeah, but add Pulsechain nonetheless. I know that Richard Hart is making own wallet, but you're not gonna use only. I mean, the problem if Richard Hart. So Richard Hart is gonna do wallet, yeah. But I have my assets. I don't want to have, you know, one wallet for Richard Hart wallet for Pulse, and then another wallet for non-Pulse, and then a third wallet for this. So you don't need just one wallet. You can have many wallets. It's because it is EVM. You can easily go to any wallet. So in fact, I think there's going to be demand for different wallets supporting Pulse. That's why I wouldn't be discouraged if you're a wallet developer to add Pulse, because Richard Hart is going to do his own wallet. Now, most people probably going to use Richard Hart wallet, but there's also a massive amount of people. Like if Pulse is to become big, let's say, everyone already has a wallet. Like to move to another wallet, man, it's quite a lot. You need to generate a new seed phrase. You're gonna do that. You need to do all kinds of you're used to using a wallet. You're safe with a wallet. So I think there's a lot of value if Pulse is to become big and it goes across chains, and it's not only for Hexicans and the Pulsians, but actually becomes like a massive L1. Is gonna be in all wallets. So yeah, don't get discouraged by that. MetaMask will work on Pulsechain. Yeah, I mean, MetaMask will work, exactly. You just add the RPC and it works. Yeah, I mean, when Testnet is live, we're gonna do interview with Richard, and I would love to ask him, like, why do you need a wallet? Because there are many wallets, like MetaMask has a wallet, but I guess that he doesn't like this gating. That someone can stop his project, so he needs to control the full flow. And I understand that, like, CoinGecko still doesn't show Hex, so you get tired of it. So you implement the. So
there we see we've got Crypto Banter wanting to interview with Richard, Pulsechain, talking about Hex. You got Ivan on Tech continuing to do more comments on Pulsechain and Hex and wallets and all sorts of stuff like that. So it really is getting exciting where things are heading. Huge exposure. Those are giant, you know, in the top 20, 30 crypto influencers out there. And of course, just one of them alone swamps the number of subscribers that all of the 120 or so Hex and Pulsechain influencers have. So including Richard Hart. But however, the difference is that the engagement is not as high. So we have a very high engagement in the Hex and Pulsechain community, and of course expanding onto more platforms. We see a big explosion in the Twitter influencers. See a bigger explosion on TikTok happening, and other platforms like Instagram and things like that. So definitely growing and growing all the time, and lots of new faces, right? Lots of new faces too. So it's pretty cool. Hex at the moment moving up here, set 5.739. That's the Pulsechain update from Richard. Now the cool thing, of course, is Richard is logging in. That's a key deal. there, and of course said that the development's going wonderfully with Testnet v3. The devs are logging in high rates, a high number of them logging in on a regular basis, and of course this seems pretty optimal at the moment. So getting very, very excited about potential Pulsechain Testnet v3, and hey, this weekend, it may be this weekend. Got high confidence of that. Of course, obviously not Richard Hart. We don't know the exact date, and the team's obviously technically got to be able to execute. There's a lot of pieces that they have to put up at once at the same time, so it's not just simply sinking the Aragon. And of course, yeah, looking forward to it though. Very optimistic is the way I put it. So that's kind of cool. We're going to get into the next topic though, and that is the Pulsechain projects on top of Pulsechain, and of course Pulsechain ecosystem there. Does look like this is from KDP. Carbon browser is apparently they've got over 5 million users, and they are KDP's been talking to them about adding Pulsechain on. They're going to add Pulsechain. That's a huge upside. So massive that. 5 million plus users, Carbon browser, fastest Web3 browser, decentralized ad blocking, 100% privacy, multi-chain wallet, and of course browse to earn home as well. So we've got the browse to earn features there. You can see that. So that's pretty bullish. 5 million plus users, and of course Pulsechain being on there certainly adds a wider market for adoption, which is pretty awesome. So pretty big deal there. That's from KDP. She said that she spoke with Carbon today, and Pulsechain. Carbon browser will support Pulsechain and deploy once live. This huge news, and I agree with that. I think that's a big news. So that's pretty cool. We also got internet money as well. Obviously, we're talking about wallets there. Ivan was talking about wallets. I know internet money is trying to get some attention there from Ivan too. But they've come out with a really nice update today as well. How cool is this? PLS, their time token, of course, PLSX, Hex, and IM all preloaded into the Internet Money wallet on Pulsechain. So pretty excited. We obviously know Richard's also working on his Heart wallet. He's got 1 or 2 devs working on that. So it's going to be fun to do this. We continue to take steps towards being the easiest way to onboard into Hex and Pulsechain. Pretty cool there. And you can see an account example as well. I'm working multi-cross-chain, remember, as well. Send, receive, swap, add token, remove token. And they got the PLS time, Internet Money, Hex, and PLS in there. I think that's pretty cool. Very cool indeed. Now, obviously, like anything like this, you've still got to get adoption. So we've got people using the wallet, but I think they'll have a good chance. They've certainly been doing a lot of the right things on the social media front, and I think they've got a pretty good chance, as most of this project size could do. Definitely, from my point of view, one of our top utility projects, yeah. So if I ranked it by adoption, that's a trickier one. I think some of the other ones are obviously going to be much easier for adoption, but I think this one's got a good chance. So we're going to look forward to it. And the sacrifice, they had multi-chain sacrifice and the Pulsechain sacrifice. Looking forward to that. And it's profit sharing. I love the profit sharing. I love the onboarding features on this as well. Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty popular from that. So it's got a lot of these mechanisms for growth. So excited about that. And KG's doing a good job out there trying to get a wider awareness of the internet money, which is pretty cool. So that is pretty cool. So we had 2 really cool updates there around the Pulsechain ecosystem. And of course, with all the influencers as well, you can see this thing's going to just blow up. It's just going to blow up. And this Hex price, 5.74 cents at the moment. Testnet v3 coming pretty close. It's getting exciting, man. It's getting exciting. And not many other project teams have this sort of thing coming. And it's probably, this is certainly going to be the biggest thing in crypto moving ahead. That's for sure. So that is the Pulsechain update. We get the Hex daily stats. Before we do that, though, we're going to get into some of the final comments before we move into the Hex daily stats. We always get paid at the end of this live stream, so we're going to get paid again today. If you are obviously mining Hex with your T-shares, is that what we say? I think that's what we say. Let's jump through some of these comments. Let's jump through that. Brandon says, breaking news, devs are logging in. That's true. It is breaking news when they're logging in at such high intensity, and particularly Richard Hart logging in. That's very bullish. What else there? Sandy Beach says, I knew a dev who said V3 is very close. Well, that is Bretep. That's Bretep talking about. He gave us that update, and he's not too wrong in the scheme of things. Because remember that the ETH proof of stake fork was the 15th September last year. It's I know 6 months since then. I think it's pretty fast. The team got 4 clients. Pretty impressive so far. I think they're doing a pretty good job. Spill the beans, Sandy. Spill the beans. Yeah. It's always the female influencers that have access to the Pulsechain devs. That's the old trick there. Happy weekend, everybody, says Andrew. Happy weekend to you. What else? J-Man in the house. Hello, friend. Good to see you, J-Man. What else there? The hype is real. It is. And we are definitely getting close. That's for sure. J-Man's going to enjoy the ride, and so are we. We're going to enjoy it too. Let's get into the Hex Daily. All right, we get paid. I like it. All right, so we're at day 1194, hot off the press, the 10th of March, 2023. The price is up 0.3% and timestamp there at 0.5667. Funny, this is the timestamp, and of course, how long ago was this? This is around 44, probably 25 minutes ago, 45 minutes ago, and of course, the price of Hex is almost at 5.8 cents. So pretty cool. Does someone know something that we don't? Is that what's happening? We got the return of the ROI from all-time low there, the 5th of January 2020, is now back over 1,000 again. Yay! Which is kind of cool. It was higher, of course, during the week, but the last 10 days, it's all been over 1,000. It's pretty neat. Good to see the Hex price back up here at this level. The payout per T-share, we always get paid. If you're watching this show, we always cover the end day and result, and 6.326x per T-share. Pretty awesome. T-share price $1,507. Now, if we went to all-time price, we're sitting at around just shy of 14,000 if we're back up there, and I'm sure it's going to get it back up there and higher at some stage in the future. It's going to be pretty exciting. T-share increase in T-share rate there at 13.2, and we're sitting at 26,597 on the share rate there. Longer pays better, so you can get more T-shares if you do longer pays better. 20% more shares per year up to 10 years, 200% discount. Pretty much is the way that works. Average mining length there is 6.44 years. This is going to jump up probably on the 23rd when the Hex Godwell comes out. I think it's the 23rd as well. Have I got it here? I think I have. Here it is here. So the 23rd, it is. Yay, it is. 146,000 T-shares coming out there. Pretty big deal. And we've had a lot of the big miners here with their T-shares push out their stakes and do other things. And we've got these current ladders in here. They're all paying higher share rates as well. So they're getting less T-shares quite dramatically since last time they would have staked as well. So this is the next 6 months ahead. You can see it's pretty quiet up here. Obviously, we've got the front of the wave. There's several billion in here, of course. I think there's 2.5 billion in here. We've got the 3.5 billion from the Hex Goldwell, and then of course we've got a few billion in here as well in the April area here. But then it really starts to thin out as we move forward in time. Obviously, this wave is moving forward, but the T-shares, the share rate's going up, so it's getting diluted as it moves forward, particularly before the Hex Goldwell stake there. So that's some of the interesting things. The APY rewards and emergency in-state penalties 35.74%. Liquidity in the pool 118 million Hex, down from yesterday 124. We've got Hex in real time at about 5.8. It's pretty good. Liquidity pool 4.8 million, up from 4.5 yesterday, so it's nice to see. And liquidity there 1684 Ethereum, up from 1619 yesterday. Now the T-share pool, the ownership pool. Remember, Hex is easy to understand. Is the most simplest way to express it. Is there is a reward pool in Hex with the inflation yield and penalties in it, and then there's an ownership pool with the T-shares in it. And of course, if the ownership pool or the T-shares go up or down, then Hex payout per T-share changes every single day. But basically, it's just going to go up and to the right over time. It's going to be pretty cool. So the T-shares are down 9,563. We're sitting at 10,222,000 T-shares. But of course, when we get to the 23rd here with this Hex Goldwell coming out with 146,000 T-shares, that's going to pull that really back dramatically. And will the Hex Goldwell do another a short stake for another 30 days or something? Will it rinse and repeat this? It's going to obviously have an impact on inflation, the ownership pool, and the share rate to some degree. And so it does play a role there with that large stake. Some pretty interesting gaming going on with these large holders here, particularly Hex Goldwell. All right, so let's move along to the right. We've got 10.2% of all Hexes staked at the moment. We've got the penalties today, another low day in penalties, 336,000 Hex. Remember, 50% goes to the Origin account, which I see as a kind of a financial operator. And of course, 50% goes to those are mining the Hex, which is pretty cool. So top up that reward. Remember last year, based on the Crypto Sparbook and Crispy Man's numbers, we had the mintable effective inflation at about 1.29%. So it's actually pretty low. Nominal Hex inflation is at around 3.69 up to, and I think there's actually a theoretical optimum above that, but that's 3.69. But the actual effective mintable inflation was at 1.29, which is pretty low level there. All right, so cool. We've got the current holders. Let's look at the growth numbers. We've got on, if you go to Etherscan, look at the Hex.com contract. Looking at liquid holders, we're at 42 to 322,932 accounts. Our headline number, of course, is the mining one, because this is what Hex is about. You buy Hex, you try and mine Hex with the T-shares and get your bigger reward there. Change in current miners up 10 to 190,471. And, of course, total holders there up 218 to 537,915. That's day 1194. We're in the fourth month of the fourth year, currently on day 1195. And, of course, our minimum payout at the moment for Hex is 6.299, same as yesterday. Pretty exciting. Obviously, if the Hex Gold Wire comes up, this is going to jump way over 6.3. So we'll see what it does in the future, this big whale here. In any case, the share rate's going up, and it's going to be up dramatically this year. As I said, we're sort of, the first couple of years, we're at the low end of the curve. We really start to move up that steeper part of the curve, and up and away we go. And of course, we can see that on Hexify predictions. So we're going to go to that. This is Crispy Man's site. And have a quick look at this. I always like to keep this in our eye view here. So let's go to share rate chart, and we're going to click on base model. This is where we are. Now you can find these links in our Discord under useful links. So Discord is free. We've got all the information, the best layout possible. So get in there if you want to find anything on Pulsechain, Hex, PulseX, or any of the Pulsechain projects. So definitely get in there. If there's something we're missing, then let us know. We'll add that after we've checked it. So get in there, folks. So this is the share rate projection expected to go out for the next 15 years. And you can see how we're just slowly moving up here, and how this is just really starting to ramp up, right? So particularly this year, expect to be quite aggressive, up to 32,000, and we're currently at 26,600 or so. That's going to be pretty aggressive. You can sort of see how it really starts to ramp up. So we're kind of, this tangent was quite low, and then of course starting to really get steeper and steeper here, going all the way out to the 10-year. It's going to be pretty big there. We've got a lot of stakes coming out 2030, a lot of mining stakes, I should say, coming out there, and of course this goes on and on. So it's going to be fun to see that play out. All right, Hex at the moment still powering up, 5.79 cents. What a live stream we've had. We've had some good live streams lately, as the way it goes. It's so good. We've got some really good momentum happening, I think, despite the Hex price pullback that's going to happen after 4.5x. But it's getting exciting about this testnet v3. Okay, figure in the house there. Hey, Superman, and all who else is getting itchy pulse hands? I think most people are, but it is getting closer and closer, and I'm excited about it too. Hey, we're up to an hour and 21 minutes on the live stream. It's been pretty fun. Hope you guys have enjoyed all the information. We're really trying to give that broad brush across all the markets, so we have a good sense of what's going on. Hope that's been helpful to you, especially if you had short time there as well. The other thing I was going to say is, if you haven't subscribed, smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell. We do have a nice little Hex pump on at the moment at 5.79, looking really good on the 15-minute hour chart. 15-minute hour chart. This is a 15-minute chart there. All right, let's jump to the hourly chart. That's the hourly chart. So the last 2 hours in particular have been pretty good. Nice little break up here as well. Let's go to the 4 hourly. We'll go 4 hourly there. Let's see where that is on the averages there. So we did get below the 200 moving average on the 4 hourly. We have bounced past that, heading up towards the 20 EMA, and that is sitting at 5.8, so just above us here, 5.83. So we're not far away from that as well. The orange line is the 50 EMA, and that is sitting at around about 6.2. 6.2 is where that is at. So it'd be nice to get back over 6 cents. That'd be pretty bullish indeed. Let's have a look at the daily on Hex. Daily on Hex, we bounced off. We got, didn't quite hit it. We bounced off that 5.2. We're up at the moment. It'd be nice to get back, as I say, over 6.1. That'd be a very nice position indeed over that 50, the 20 EMA, which is the blue line there. And that's probably where we are. So we had also this previous slight resistance at 6.1. So we've got two little indicators there. It'd be pretty nice to get 6.1. That'd be what a great day in the office. That'd be very bullish indeed. We've got obviously the next one after there is our old one that we did defeat. We defeated 7.3, got to defeat it again, and this is the way it goes. let's bring up the overlays, and you can see that we did get rejected pretty much at the resistance line. We're about to break out of that bear market for Hex. We did get pushed back down in here, and that was the bearish scenario, so that's just the way it goes. The bullish one would have been us to break much higher, trying to attack that 8.6 cent mark. We didn't do that, and if we had done that, we would have probably come back dramatically from 8.6 anyway, potentially bounced off the blue line, and away we go, depending on what's going out. Obviously, we've had quite a bit of negative news in the market, so that's made it for a more bearish scenario. But at the moment, that is where we are. So still back in the Hex bear market, still not quite out of it yet. Almost, though we're not too far away. Now, if we were to get out of it now, obviously it's getting easier. 7 cents or so is what we need. So that's quite doable. I imagine next time we do it, it's going to happen. It's going to be pretty fun, especially if we get Pulsechain Testnet v3. I think that's pretty bullish. It's going to be the first proof of stake fork. There's lots involved with it. All the clients that you got to have up and running: Aragon, GoGeth, Lighthouse, Prism, and of course also all the connections in between, and set up nodes and set up front ends like the Beacon chain front end there. So if we have a look here, this is the Aragon one that they're after. This is the ETH equivalent. And of course, we're looking forward to seeing this chart regularly on this live stream. You can see at the moment that there's 547,839 validators on Ethereum. So how many are we going to have on Pulsechain? I know there's a theoretical maximum of 32 million Pulse, given the circulating supply for the public. But of course, the Origin Sacrifice counts going to be interesting to see what the Origin count does. Obviously, expecting a lot of validators from the team themselves. It's pretty cool. And yeah, it's going to be fun to see that play out for sure. All right, I think that's it on that one. We're sitting at 5.78. We've obviously got a lot of big deals coming up here in the future. I actually have not updated the financials, but we've got these big Fed movements at the moment. As I say, I think we're going to have volatility between March and June. It's already started, obviously. And of course, then I think, wouldn't a Pulsechain launch be at the end of the terminate, around the terminal rate for the actual mainnet? That'd be pretty nice. So if we do, I think the team is, Richard's team, keen to get the testnet v3 out in this sort of zone. Imagine if we had this nice testnet running for a couple of months, and then confidence to get into this, going to be pretty cool. They'll be looking at the ETH fork, of course. Will we get a V4? That's always possible with the ETH withdrawals. We'll see what they decide to do there. Yeah, I think this Shanghai fork will probably go early this month, but maybe the mainnet slips into April. That's definitely looks like what will probably happen there. And Uniswap v3 license, which is optional. We can do that anytime. So it's really the Shanghai ETH withdrawals. Obviously, if this is a bullish scenario for Ethereum, and of course they go from 14% of staked maybe up to 25-40%, that's bullish for Pulsechain too. Obviously, there's going to be different price incentives. Obviously, the price of Pulse has to go up, but I'm pretty confident that's going to probably accelerate pretty fairly well, despite volatility at the early on there. What are we going to have? We're going to have. Do you think we're going to have 20 to 1 people buying versus sellers, or do you think we're going to have 100 to 1, or do you think we're going to have 1,000 to 1? I mean, really, I think there's a lot of people know about it. A lot of people missed out on Pulse. We will have some big sharks and sell, I think. And those are the ones that will probably give us those big deep dips that people were sometimes fearful of. We're going to have a decrease from the sacrifice price, things like that. So I think only those people are going to do that. They have a slightly lower rate, right, than 0001. So it's like more like 4 zeros. I think it's 404. I think is around about the price that they have. So there's a rationality there, right? Especially waiting 2 years. So it's going to be interesting to see that play out. Obviously, the price of crypto has changed a lot since then as well. I think now you get equivalent of a lot lower equivalent there. I have to bring up my spreadsheet because I've done all those numbers. So pull those up sometime and we'll talk about that. Anyway, we're looking pretty good on the old charts. For me, man, a June, July maybe launch would be pretty nice. But I've got June in here, and that'd be pretty tasty. And of course, if that's the end of the Fed rate right there, the Fed does pivot for a lot of reasons, then that'd be pretty cool. I can see the timing is perfect. I think there's only been 2 timings when we could actually launch Pulsechain, and of course the other one is way back. Should I bring it up? I'm just prattling on now, but let's bring it up because I'm having fun talking about it. So let's do that. Let's bring up the old Hex. Let's do that. How long are we doing for time? We got 2 minutes. I'll wrap up in 2 minutes. Let's bring on the super chart here. This is my old Hex chart with all the history of Hex on it. Let's get rid of the RSI, and we've got all the history of Hex. You can see it's all gomulated, but it's there. Let's pull this out here. Let us pull this out. So we have the Pulsechain Sacrifice back here in July 21. Definitely, I think it was, I haven't got the Bitcoin chart up, I wish I had that, but in between this time frame, this was probably the best time. If it wasn't that time, then we didn't want to launch. We did not want to launch up until the time we're coming up to in June. So I think we only had 2 windows to launch Pulsechain. That would have been really good for the price. And this one is probably going to be even better because we're starting from a lower base. So I think that's probably going to be a much better time as well. So 2 windows for me, one before the second Bitcoin top, and of course this one coming up in June at perhaps at the terminal rate. So I think things are working out pretty good. Obviously this is going to be even better than if we launched then, because I think we've got a lower base, plus we've got the big ecosystem and all influences and everything else. All the CFI got wrecked, so we've got all these amplifiers that are going to make it X times better. So I think we are launching at the best time if you're going to select those 2 windows of opportunity. So very, very excited about where we're heading here. All right. Now this assumes there's no China invasion of Taiwan. So remember that. That's the one thing in the world that is assumed out of this whole expectation moving forward. Of course, that is a global game changer if that event occurs. And of course, you know, we'll pray for it not to happen. Anyway, let's jump over to the Hex chart on the 15-minute. I'm just having too much fun at the moment. This chart is just pumping. You guys know I like to stay online if the chart is pumping. Let's do it. And let me get rid of the overlays. I've locked them all in there. Let's get rid of that. Let me get rid of the auto log as well. That's the 15-minute chart. We're at the 5.827. Man, it would be so good if we could get over 6.1. That'd be pretty neat. And there's sort of hot old dog there. Speaking of hot dog, I hope he's okay. I saw that he's had some operation or something. So, but I have seen him on Twitter, so I'm sure he's doing fine. All right, are you guys enjoying the pump? Man, what a nice recovery, 5.8. That's very, very good. Remember, we did get up as high as 7.8, so we are still off 2 cents. But getting down to 5.2 cents from 7.8, I mean, that's a pretty decent move down. Let's actually go to the daily, have a quick look at that. And we're up to hour and 31, so we need to be mindful of the price of the time. But we did get down to 33% pullback on that. But we're down 25% at the moment, which is not too bad. And we're up from here, up pretty quick, up 11% or so. So a nice little bounce back here. Like I say, getting over that 6.1, that'd be really, really nice. And getting a nice green candle in there, that'd be great. That'd be great. What else? I was going to bring up the Fibonacci. Let's bring up the Fibonacci. Let's take it from here. Fibonacci there. So yeah, the 38.2 is 5.4, 5.6. So that's why we're getting a little bit of confidence about the 5 cent range battle. And of course, with the moving averages and the previous horizontal highs or higher lows, low highs, I should say, we were having some confidence in this range. So yeah, if we didn't have Pulsechain though, after 4.5x, then it's definitely a 61 to 78.6 would have been on the tables. So it would have been between 3 and 4 cents on a pullback. But because we have Pulsechain Testnet V3, I think that we're in a better shape for that. So we'll see how we go. 5.827. Market seems to be agreeing at the moment. We'll see what comes of this. All right, we have to bust through these resistances, get the confidence. That's all I can say on that one. All right, how's everyone doing? Everyone's quiet in the chat there, so I hope you guys have enjoyed today's show. I think it's been the last couple of days have been fantastic. And we've been given non-stop data, right? Data, you guys know I like to focus on the crypto, on the what's happening across all the markets, because crypto is no longer isolated from these markets, right? So we see that we need to keep abreast of the stock market, commodities, US dollar, and or crypto in general. So hopefully that's been pretty cool. All right, well, let's end the show. We're at 5.82. Let's see what it is tomorrow when I have my live show. Of course, get into Discord. You can continue the chat there either by text or by audio. Get in there, folks. It's going to be fun. All right, Katie's in-house says this will wrap up the comments. Overall, a great week, exciting times ahead. Yeah, maybe this weekend we will get Testnet V3. Pretty high confidence, looking good. Obviously, it might slip into next week, but let's see how we go there. All right, let me end the show. All right. Where's my video? My video's gone, man. All right. Let's see there. Bam. All right. Take care, everybody. Peace out. Bye for now.